friends, it's Nikki here with Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Just a quick tutorial for you on how to make an easy hand bow. That's something I struggled with when I first started wreath making, and so I thought I'd share some tips and tricks with you. I hope you enjoy. If you have any comments, make sure to drop them below. And if you've not already subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell notifications so that you can see any new tutorials that I upload. Hey friends, it's Nikki here with Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Just have a quick bow making tutorial for you. I know when I first started making wreaths and door swags and all things crafty, bows were my biggest struggle. So I thought I would share a quick tutorial with you on how to more easily make a quick hand bow. Before we dive in, let me just tell you the supplies that we're going to use. Of course, we've got a variety of ribbon, and just a quick note on the ribbon, make sure when you choose your ribbon that your ribbon is wired and of higher quality. You can certainly use Dollar Tree ribbon, it works fine. To be quite honest with you, there's not really one store or one website that sells better ribbon than another. It just is kind of hit and miss. Everybody carries good ribbon, everybody carries bad ribbon. So you really just need to check the ribbon quality for yourself. Just peel that cellophane back a little bit. Make sure the ribbon isn't too thin. That's the biggest challenge that you can have when you're making bows. And always, always, always make sure that you use wired ribbon. If you don't use wired ribbon, then your bow, excuse me, won't be able to hold its form and shape the way that you want it to. So always make sure that you're choosing wired ribbon, and it will tell you right on the outside of the ribbon package that it is in fact wired or not. So always double check that. So the tips that I'm going to show you today, I've chosen to use 3 different designs of ribbon. You can use as many or as few as you would like. These are just the 3 that I happen to choose. I typically like to pair up a few 2.5 inch wide ribbons. These are both 2.5 inches with 1 or 2 1.5 inch ribbons. I'll sometimes use smaller, for instance 3/4 inch, or larger, that would be 4 inch. But generally speaking, my go-to is 2.5 inch ribbon and 1.5 inch ribbon. I like variety, so I like to make sure that I always have a focal point ribbon or 2. And then once I've chosen my focal point ribbon, then I'll choose matching but yet contrasting ribbon to pair with it so that I hopefully have a super cute bow when I'm done. So that's just a little tip I wanted to share with you about ribbon. Now, some of the tools that you're going to need to make your bow, of course, are a good pair of scissors and some way to tie your bow off. There's a couple of options that you can choose. This is mostly based on personal preference. So let me share with you some of the options that you have. You can always use floral wire, and floral wire comes 2 different ways. You can either buy it, if you can see that, friends, you can either buy that in pre-cut lengths. I believe this is probably 15 inches long at different strengths. Or you can buy thinner floral wire that's just on a spool that you can pull off and trim at whatever length that you may need. So those are your 2 floral wire options. You can also use a zip tie. This is generally my go-to preference. This is a 6 inch, it's supposed to be clear, but it's kind of a milky color zip tie. I, as I said, prefer this most often, although sometimes I will use the floral wire or pipe cleaners or chenille stems, whatever you may call them. Pipe cleaners or chenille stems come in basically every color you can think of. They're nearly always 12 inches long, although you can find them longer online. Something worth mentioning, if you're going to use pipe cleaners, be thinking about where you're going to put your bow, because you want to make sure that once you tie off the bow, that the ends that you have left are going to be long enough to secure your bow to whatever you're attaching it to, your wreath, your swag, your lantern, whatever. If your 12-inch pipe cleaners are not long enough, you can just simply marry two together. All you need to do, friends, is take two pipe cleaners, overlap them by 1 inch to 1.5 inches, and start twisting them together. First on one side until you reach the end of that tip, and then on the other side until you reach the end of that tip, and then that will give you you know, a much longer pipe cleaner for your needs. One last thing to mention, you can also, I do this often, especially with bigger bows that are harder to handle, you can also combine two methods. So sometimes I will secure and fasten, you know, basically button up my bow with the zip tie, and then after I've done so, I'll wrap the pipe cleaner around the center and use the pipe cleaners to actually attach the bow to the wreath or the swag or whatever I'm making. So you can also pair a couple of options if that's easier. Okay, so now that we've chatted about that, let's start our bow making. And so I generally tend to put the 2.5-inch ribbon in the back and then the 1.5-inch ribbon on the top. And so let me just show you this super easy method, friends. And so you're going to take your ribbon, unroll it, and with a tape measure or your self-healing mat or whatever you've got handy, you're going to go ahead and measure out 10 to 12 inches depending on the length of what you want your bow to be. And so I'm going to make this about 12. And once you have that identified, you're going to just fold that over 4 times onto itself. So we've got 1. Just going to pull it out and lay it flat. 2. Pull it out. Lay it flat. 3. Pull it out. Lay it flat. And that's 4. Once you do that, cut your ribbon off and set your first ribbon style off to the side. Just give that a little squish, flatten it down, and set it out of the way. And we're building this bow from the bottom up. So this buffalo check is actually going to be on the bottom of our bow. So set that off to the side. Move on to your next ribbon choice. This time I'm going to make it a little shorter, friends. So we'll make this one about 10 inches, 9 or 10 inches. Once you have that identified, just like before, friends, fold it in half onto itself, and you're going to fold it over 4 times. So 2, 3, and 4. And just like before, cut your ribbon off, set it off to the side, give it a little flattening, and set it on top of your first ribbon choice. And so you can now see, friends, that you've got some overlap on each end. Set that off to the side. And now we're going to make this last ribbon approximately 8 inches. So we'll stop here. Once you have your spot identified, just like before, loop it over onto itself. And this ribbon, the 1.5-inch ribbon, we're just going to fold over once. So you've got 1 fold over, plus 1 more. Cut off the extra, set your ribbon roll off to the side. Lay your 1.5 inch ribbon on top of the other two. So now you can see that the bottom ribbon is longer than the middle, and the middle is longer than the top. And so once you have that all finished, you're going to just pick up your ribbon bundle. You need to kind of identify the middle. You can either measure it, you can eyeball it, or you can just fold it in half quickly and stick your thumb in the middle so that you know where that is. Once you do that, friends, you're going to kind of do the pinch and scrunch like you've seen me do in other tutorials, kind of like a men's bow tie. So pinch and scrunch until you've got this little bundle. And this is where I was telling you earlier, friends, that I sometimes like to use two methods. So I like to secure my bow with a zip tie because these are some tough guys, right? Give it a nice pull, tight pull, making sure you're staying in the middle. All right. Once you get that where you want it, go ahead and take some snips or scissors and cut off your extra bit of zip tie. Toss that away. And now you've got this cute little bundle of ribbon. And so now we need to fluff it out and turn it into a bow. So one thing I like to mention about fluffing, this is most people's least favorite part, including myself. It's important to say to just have patience with your bow fluffing. It takes just, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or so to pull and fluff as you would like. And so what you're going to do is just starting at the bottom, you're going to just pull your tail off to the side and kind of give it a jerk. You can be somewhat rough with it. Pull your loops out. And here's where it's important, friends, that you've got that wired ribbon, because the wire on the sides is what actually helps your bow to hold its shape. So you're just going to pull your tails out, give it a fluff, and work your way from the bottom to the top. Flip it over and do the same thing. So we'll do this together. All right, friends, so now you've got your bow mostly fluffed out. Go ahead and grab your scissors and either dovetail or cut at an angle your tails. Give them a quick snip. And once you snip off at an angle or dovetail, then you are totally finished with your bow. You can continue to fluff it and work it if you'd like, friends, but that's an easy way to make your hand bow without any fuss. And if you want to attach it now to your wreath, swag, or lantern, you can simply take your chenille stems or your floral wire pick. You would just simply take it, run it through the center, twist it on the back, and go ahead and attach it to your wreath.